Congressman Charlie Bass, our guest, NewsTalk 99.7, WNTK, NewsTalk 98.9, 1490 WUVR, and a day with heat and humidity and highs in the 90s. You spent some time down in the Monadnock region earlier in the week. What are people saying to you when they see you?
Well, I am devoting this week, topically at least, to alternative energy and discussing energy issues. But I've also been meeting with lots of people who are concerned about potential cuts that the state of New Hampshire is contemplating, as well as the federal government. And I'm attempting to the best of my ability to educate my constituents as to what the reality is, and not to be as concerned as you mentioned at the beginning of the show about the fact that the sky is falling. It isn't. On the Congress, on the discretionary side, which is only 33% of our budget, we just want to get back to the beginning of 2008 in spending before the stimulus package. And on entitlements, which is non-discretionary spending, 66% of it, we just want to come up with some sensible ideas to curb the growth. So I have been talking about those issues, been talking about jobs and in some, in areas that I think are potentially beneficial to New Hampshire. I'm going to be meeting with the law enforcement community this morning to talk about interoperability. I'm going, that's communications. I'm on the telecommunications subcommittee of Commerce Committee. How we get police and fire and so forth, first responders, all talking together in case of an emergency. I'm going to Boston today to deliver a speech to the New England Fuel Institute, that basically oil dealers, and talk about their issues. I'll be going to Walter Peterson's funeral later on in the day, and I have a whole series of things on the agenda tomorrow in Merrimack and Grafton counties. So it's an active week for me. I'm meeting a lot of people and talking about a lot of really interesting issues.
Yesterday we were talking about Governor Peterson with somebody that I know you know from your time here at home, and that is former State Senator Burt Cohen. And we were talking about how Governor Peterson was a gentleman of politics, and how the gentleman part of it, seems to be going away from the process of getting good government done and accomplished.
It's interesting. I have some old tapes, magnetic tapes of my father's debates when he ran for the U.S. Senate in 1962 against Tom McIntyre. First of all, they gave you about 10 or 15 minutes apiece or 10 minutes apiece for opening statements, and it was traditional then to spend the first part, at least a third of the time, praising your opponent, talking about why your opponent was qualified, knew it, and so on, and then say, well, why you'd be better than your opponent. Walter Peterson was one of the last, if you will, soldiers of that era in policy that understood, that always began a criticism, if you will, by saying that he had respect for his opponent. And I think that's a standard that we should all strive for. I always try to talk about the good things that an opponent and I might share, and respectfully, underline, disagree on those issues. It's not about personalities. It's sad that with modern communications we have these hot button, political ads that go up by people that have no interest in the state or don't know people, to try to influence the process. Great statesmen and public policy leaders like Walter Peterson set a standard that we should all strive to return to.
We'd love to hear some of those tapes and maybe play them on the radio. It's a great piece of New Hampshire political history, Congressman.
Well, I also have. It's also Norris Cotton and all kinds of others.
Wow,
they are really good. And I will just say that Walter Peterson and I both lived in Peterborough our whole lives, and I knew him since I was a child, and he really did introduce me, along with my father, to the political world in the state. We did a lot of interesting things together, and he will really be missed. Congressman Charlie Bass on WNTK WUVR. Are you going to the Dartmouth graduation this weekend? No, I'm not. I'm actually going to try to visit my daughter. She's taking a concentrated physics course in Philadelphia.
Wow.
I'm going to try to fly down there for the day. I've only seen her twice since January. She goes to Lafayette College in Pennsylvania, and she's working very, very hard. And she gets 1 day of summer vacation, in late June, and then begins her summer job as a junior tennis pro. So I think I will be otherwise occupied this weekend.
There's some good genes in that Bass family, I got to tell you. It's Charlie Bass, Congressman Charlie Bass.
Well, my daughter is a really great student. I'm not so sure that necessarily is the case with her father.
Just a quick reaction here as we wrap up to what's going on with Congressman Anthony Weiner.
I just scratch. My wife Lisa and I look at each other every time these stories come up, and I'm speechless. I can't. It's interesting. Anthony Weiner has never been all that popular with his colleagues. Congress is a little bit like school. There are popular ones, and there are athletes, and there are eggheads, and there are show horses, and there are workhorses, and he's sort of a show horse. He comes prancing into the floor and has big flowery speeches and tries to disrupt the process and so forth. And so that when he got into trouble, you don't see an awful lot of people running to his defense. On the other hand, the nature of his transgressions are just perplexing to me. I don't understand it, and that's all. That's the only comment I have.
Yeah, a lot of us.
I saw him last week, and he said something like, "Well, having the last name of Bass isn't as bad as Weiner," or something like that. Some kind of comment, and I chuckled about it. I mean, he gave me the impression this was a total prank, and then out it comes, and I don't know. I don't think anybody can possibly understand this. He was going to run for mayor of New York City, I guess. I don't know whether it's this year or next year, and I guess next year, and it's all over for him, I guess. And
yeah,
I don't know what motivates people to do that. We had another one earlier in the year, Chris Smith from New York, the other end of the state, over near Buffalo.
Yeah, Western New York.
And his capers were even more weird, if I may.
Yeah, you scratch your head. Well, as a member of the
that's all I can do is scratch my head and say, what?
Yeah. Well, as a member of the Telecommunications Committee, watch what you do with that cell phone. That's the moral of the story.
Well, actually, I think the moral is watch what you do on the Internet.
Exactly.
The Internet is public. And everything you write or say, emails, I don't know what else.
It's out there in the public domain.
That it can all be on the front page of the newspaper tomorrow morning.
Absolutely. Congressman Charlie Bass, always appreciate your time on WNTK, WUVR. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.